Welcome to It's a Woman's World, where we'll meet achieving women making a difference in our community. I'm Carolyn Bruno. Our guest is Robin Finnell, wardrobe stylist and image consultant. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, you were actually here 4 years ago, and so we're happy that you're back, and I'm sure there's been many changes in the fashion world, and we'll talk about them in a few minutes. But first, please remind me, how did you get into becoming an image consultant?
22 years ago, almost 23 now, we moved to the Washington, D.C. area, and I attended at the Washington Women's Show long before the old D.C. Convention Center got raised and replaced. And I ran across a woman sitting behind a desk and with a sign that said "Suited for Change." And I found out that they provide low-income women coming out of job training programs, halfway houses, jail, whatever their circumstances are, with clothing for their interviews and jobs. So I started volunteering 22 years ago, and what I really found out was that clothing can make a huge impact on how a woman feels about herself. If you'd like, I can tell you a quick story.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And I think I told the story the last time on your show, but there was a woman that came in shortly after I had started volunteering, and I think she was homeless. Or was living out of a shelter because she had several layers of clothing on and it really wasn't that cold outside. We found a suit, a beautiful cobalt blue, and I sent her into the dressing room to try it on, and she came out with it on top of all of her clothing. And so I encouraged her to go back and really let her know that we needed to see how it was going to look on her. So she came out and she looked in the mirror and she started crying. She said she never thought that she could look this good again. And then she stood up a little taller, her shoulders went back, her head held high, and she said, "And I'm going to have to get my hair done." And what I saw was in about 45 seconds, a woman who seemed to have no confidence, regain and have the desire to move forward. And I realized that just a suit, a simple outfit could make that change.
Yeah. Well, there are a number of nonprofit places that do help people to donate clothing so that other people who are trying to get back into the working world have a new image of themselves. And so, yeah, that's really wonderful. How can our viewers help with that type of donations if they wanted to do that?
Well, these organizations basically work off of donations. And so your viewers, for women's, places like Suited for Change, suits, blouses, skirts, pants, anything that is work appropriate. Corduroy pants are not going to work. Blue jeans are not going to work. But anything a woman could wear to an interview, including jewelry that you're no longer wearing, scarves, handbags, shoes, because we really do try to work with these women and set them up head to toe.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. And I guess that just leads me to something you've almost really said a bit, how or why, rather, it's important for women to professionally feel good about the clothing that they have on.
Well, I think when a woman looks into a mirror and she likes what she sees, she feels like she's well dressed, she's going to feel great, she's going to look great, and she's going to have the confidence to pursue her passions, her profession, regardless of her purpose in the world. And the one thing that she doesn't have to worry about is how she looks. Men have it really easy. They have a uniform. They put on a suit, a tie. They might change the color of their shirt, change the tie, but for the most part, they have a uniform. Women have so many more options, and sometimes it can be confusing and create anxiety.
Yeah, sometimes too many options are not as good, right? Yeah, I know. So tell us then, what can a woman do to look her best?
Well, there are a few things that they can take into consideration. One is body type, their skin tone, their hair color, their personal style, and understanding that color can complement their skin tone.
Oh, great. Okay. So let's go to start with your body type then, and give us the body types that people do have today, and then of course we'll go into what we can do to dress these body types for professional situations.
Well, there are 5 basic body types. There's the triangle, which is me, the inverted triangle, the oval, the rectangle, and the hourglass. A triangle is smaller on the top, and they generally tend to carry their weight in their hips and thighs. An inverted triangle would have a broader shoulder, generally a big bust. They could have a narrow shoulder and a big bust, but they're much smaller on the bottom. They have narrow hips. Quite often they have a flat bottom. An oval is going to have a narrower shoulder, a narrower hip line, but she's going to be fuller through the middle. A rectangle is going to be straight up and down. Their shoulders and their hips line up, and they tend not to have a defined waist, whereas an hourglass would have an even shoulder and hip, but would have a defined waist.
Wow. And so the hair color and skin tone make a difference with these particular body types as well, right? Okay.
Well, there are 3 types of skin tones. There's cool skin tones, warm skin tones, and neutral. And what happens generally is if you've got a cool skin tone, you're going to look better in warm colors. Such as you with your red hair, you know, a bright green is going to be beautiful on you, and that's a yellow-based color. Whereas I tend to be more of a warm skin tone, so cooler colors are going to look better on me. There are women who are extremely fortunate, and they seem to have a neutral skin tone and can wear almost every color, which is kind of a lot of fun.
You know, this is actually much more complex than I thought about colors and skin tone, and particularly the body types. I didn't realize there were so many. Yeah.
The other thing is that hair color. Quite often we are born with a hair color that complements our skin tone, but sometimes we're not. And I think that's what keeps beauty salons in business is, you know, if your hair color is not complementing your skin tone, you know, you can lighten, brighten, darken, highlight, and it really does brighten up your face.
Wow. So all these interact with each other and affect how you look, how you dress, and the colors that you should or wear for making yourself feel and look better and more comfortable and more flattering for you, I guess.
Flattering was the word I was going to use.
Yeah. Anything else that we should know before we look at some of the samples that you brought?
I think we're probably ready to look.
We've covered all these things. Okay. So you have samples of some clothing.
I do.
You're going to then say which ones are good for which particular body type, styles, and perhaps skin tones.
And there are some things can be worn on more than one body type, and that's what I'm going to share with you.
Okay.
Because maxi dresses have been in for the last year and seem to be dominating many of the stores, I brought a couple. This particular one is a crisscross halter. This works beautifully on a hourglass body shape, but if you take the belt off and run it straight, it also works really well on a rectangular because it still just skims up and down, gives them shape.
That's interesting. That's a beautiful print, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because we love our black, I decided to bring another one. Once again, belted tightly. This would be really great for a hourglass shape. And a rectangle can also wear a belt, but they tend to wear it down a little bit on their hips, give it more of a point, and it gives them an illusion of a waist where there really isn't one.
I see. This I think is my favorite. I love slacks. And
this actually can work for a number of body types. It can work for an hourglass. With the wide legs, it works really well with a triangle. The fact that it's a little bit longer and covers the hip is good for a triangle. Because it's a V and it's darker on top, it could work for an inverted triangle because I don't think the stripes are going to make it look wider. It's just a little bit more of a detail than it is an actual stripe. And an oval will work really well with this because it gives her a little bit of a width at the bottom where she generally has thinner legs. This will drape over her belly. So it really works for pretty much every body type.
That's a perfect one. I love that, yeah. Now you have slacks there.
Oh, sure.
Most people wear slacks, or are there certain body types that should not wear?
Well, it's a matter of the type of slack that they wear.
Oh, okay.
The triangle will work really well with a wide leg because it skims over her thighs, where if she wore a narrow leg, the emphasis is going to be on her thigh. So it's all about proportion, and proportion is extremely important. You know, height is important. So it's just, there are a number of factors to take into consideration. Fresh for summer is this little embroidered dress. And because it's an A-line or flares out, it works really well with not only an hourglass because it's pinched here in the waist with princess seams, but it also flares out, so it's going to not emphasize the hips and thighs.
That's lovely, and I have noticed more people seem to be wearing dresses these days.
Dresses are extremely popular. Just like the one before, and I'm showing this also because nature prints are so important this season. The wrap dress, which was reminiscent of the 70s, if you'll remember Diane von Furstenberg and how she got famous with her wrap dress. This particular one is also fuller in the bottom, so an hourglass or a triangle could wear that. And then the last piece that I'll show you.
Let me see
I'm sorry.
A little bit closer.
Well, sure, absolutely. This is a knit dress with leather trim and jacket, and it's a straight up and down dress, and I'm not going to pull it apart because it'll go everywhere. But straight up and down, so a straight rectangular can wear that. An hourglass could wear that if they wanted to nip it in. With a jacket like this, you could wear this with an oval shape. And probably the only one I wouldn't give it to would be the inverted triangle because there's so much going on up here that you don't want to take the attention. An inverted triangle works really well with a print bottom and a darker top because that way you're creating more balance.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. You know, it's interesting because you have so many different body types, but I remember from years ago, people used to go by the seasons as well as body types, and the colors I know coordinated with seasons because I know fall, you know, with the auburn.
And I'm a winter.
And you're a winter,
I think that was back in the 70s and 80s as well.
Yeah, and I remember we used to have ourselves analyzed for seasons.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So, but how do people remember and learn these body types, though?
Well, if you're not sure, you know, seek a professional. But once you learn your body type and you learn the specifics as to, you know, what works really well for your body type, when going into a store, you make less mistakes.
Oh, I see.
I still make a mistake every now and then because it's like, oh, I really want to wear that. And that's why we have things in our closet with tags still on them.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Oh, I think you had asked me about other factors to take into consideration, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't ignore that. Women can take into consideration the fact that unfortunately we are natural judgers. When we look at somebody, we've already made an opinion. So you want to take that into consideration. Do you look credible in what you're wearing? You know, if you're an attorney, are you wearing something that looks professional? Are you wearing a t-shirt dress that's wrinkled? Cleavage is an important factor. I've noticed lately that women as a whole are wearing their clothes tighter. I'm seeing a lot more cleavage, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. You just want to make sure that the setting is appropriate. The body-conscious fabrics. What happens sometimes when we don't take into consideration fit is that if we're wearing something too tight, we can actually look bigger than we are.
Oh, that's interesting.
And if you buy a size up, and instead of that fabric really pulling tightly over your skin, and it just skims your skin, you can look a lot thinner.
Oh, okay. I think I'm going to finish this when we come back.
Okay.
We'll take a short break.
All right.
We'll break for a short public service announcement.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Robin Finnell, a wardrobe stylist and image consultant. Robin, first half we were talking about body types, and you've shown us some beautiful styles of clothing that most for professional wear. And now I'd like you to continue. We were finishing about factors that people should consider when selecting different clothes. Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about fit. Something else that I wanted to bring to your audience's attention is sleeveless versus wearing sleeves in the workplace. And what I found is quite often women are extremely comfortable now in sleeveless, but when you put them side by side with a man in a suit, you want to make sure that they look credible. So it's just something to take into consideration. The other thing is alterations. We're not all fit models. And each line of clothing is designed based on a fit model. So alterations is a huge factor in making sure that clothing will fit you properly. And sometimes just taking up a half an inch in a sleeve, or letting down a half an inch, or adjusting a hem, or taking in the waist will make that outfit look like it's custom made for you versus just buying it off the rack.
Yeah, that is amazing, and I hadn't realized that until recently, that you can take your clothing and have it altered, and it really looks so different on you. And as you're saying here, like it was fit for you and made for you rather than just off the rack.
Exactly.
And it's an easy, quick way, so you're not trying to buy something that is high fashion, that's very expensive. Here you've taken something that's
exactly
off the rack and still have it fit for you. I think that's just the greatest tip of all.
And alterations ladies are fabulous. They are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, great. Okay, let's switch over now to the information about colors and spring trends. Yeah, and I know I've heard of Pantone colors, and you actually, I think, were the first one that introduced me to that word. And it's a big deal, isn't it? It's quite credible and important in the fashion industry.
Yeah, it is.
So tell us first, what are Pantone colors?
Well, the Pantone Institute is an organization that kind of sets the tone for colors in the industry. It could be branding, it could be fashion, it could be design, but they're the ones that set the tone. If you think about it, when you go into a paint store and you get that fan of paints, you know, and you think every color in the rainbow is in there, and then you go in a few years later and ask for a fan. And if you compare those two, they're completely different. And you had no idea there were additional colors. And that is something that is set by Pantone. And that also affects the fashion industry, it affects the interior design industry, home furnishings. It is a huge, big deal.
Yeah.
So also each year, Pantone will give you the color of the year. And this is the fashion color of the year. It could also be for the home furnishings industry, but the designers really take heed to that. And this year's color of the year is called greenery. Well, with us being on under green lights, unfortunately you're not going to be able to see it, but what I did bring, and it's right here, is, and you can Google this, is Pantone color of the year, the Pantone spring colors of the year for 2017. Soon the Pantone fall colors for 2017 will be out. But it just kind of gives the design industry kind of a guide as to what to do. So, and feel free, you at home, to Google this, because you're not going to be seeing all of these colors right here.
Okay, this is great.
As for spring trends?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Let's go to
sorry
spring.
about
No,
that.
that's fine. Let's go to spring trends.
Nature prints are extremely popular. Last year, Stella McCartney did a cat motif. There were cats on everything. Mark of Jacobs, who is generally very famous for his leopard prints, actually did the whole leopard instead. So there are animal prints, there's nature prints, there's florals. Our company last year did butterflies. We had butterflies on everything. This year we're doing some dragonflies, in addition to, you know, the florals and things that I have shown you. Boho tends to be still popular.
What is boho?
Bohemian.
Oh.
You know, kind of back in the 60s, the flowy skirts and the peasant blouses and that kind of thing are still extremely popular. The wide leg pants that I showed you just a little while ago, pant legs change from season to season, and wide legs came back about last spring. They're still running they're still being very popular.
That's amazing to me how the styles of the pants change as well. But you know, I have seen more styles accepted, I think, whether you're wearing tight pants or tights themselves or a wide, you can almost get away with anything, don't you think?
I think that's true, but once again, you have to remember your body type. If it's not flattering, you don't want to see me in a narrow leg pant because all you're going to see is my thigh. And that's not the prettiest part of me. Also still popular is shine and lace for daytime, as well as romance ruffles.
Oh, and everybody loves romance ruffles. Yeah,
exactly.
Really nice. Yeah. Well, we're talking about clothing and styles and colors and image consultants. So what should a person, if they decide to go to an image consultant, what should they expect that image consultant to do for them?
Well, first of all, listen and ask questions, listen to the answers. Because everybody's got a different reason for going to an image consultant. If a professional is going because, you know, she wants to have a more professional wardrobe that works with her, you know, listen to, you know, what industry is she in? You know, what is standard in her industry? I think our job as a rule is to make you look your very best and to look like you're at the top of your game. So talk to her about her body type. You know, what's going to be more flattering? Talk to her about her colors. The other thing is, just because a color looks good on you doesn't mean that you like it. So don't, you know, force that issue. If you're going to take them shopping, or if they're coming to you to make purchases, keep a record of what it is they buy, so that what you can do is to keep adding on to what's already existing in their closet. So say they bought, you know, your basic black last year. You know, maybe bring in a print or bring in a color that will, you know, take those pieces and wear them longer. Because ideally, a professional is going to give you a wardrobe that can mix and match, and so that you don't have so many pieces that you've got to figure it out.
Well, I love your idea of that. In one way, the image consultant should keep a list of things that look good on you and what they're helping you with, but then you would probably, which I hadn't realized this until just now, keep your own list of what you've been wearing, what the styles are, what colors look good on you, and just kind of keep, besides keeping them in mind, of course, but until you realize your body type and your image, keep your own list. That's a great idea.
Some clients have asked to take pictures of outfits because they're just not comfortable putting things together. So they can have a notebook and they can flip through and go, oh, this goes with this goes with this, I can take care of that, and then they go on with their day.
You know, that's interesting. I was looking for eyeglasses the other day, and until I got home, my niece said to me, well, why didn't you take a photo of them? Because I was between two, and bring it, and then we could look at it. And I thought, see, I never thought of that. And that would be, it's the same thing that you're saying here.
Well,
take
that's
a photo
the
of yourself. Yeah, the young. Selfies now, I can do those.
Yes, exactly. They take pictures of everything.
Right, right. Tell us how people could get a hold of you, if they're interested in talking to you about and question you about different styles or things.
Well, I'm at the Doncaster Studio in McLean, and my email address is rbfinnell@gmail.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn, so they're certainly welcome to find me that way as well.
Oh, great. And tell us, end with some important things about fashion that you really want people to know, if they have to remember a couple things. what are the most important for them?
Okay, well, I brought you 3 quotes from 3 famous designers.
Okay.
The first is, "Fashions fade, style is eternal." And that's by Yves Saint Laurent. And a lot of these are very similar, but I just really want your viewers to know that, you know, fashion's art can be a fad. Fashion is about dressing according to what's fashionable. Style is more about being yourself. And that is Oscar de la Renta.
So then you're saying we should be more interested in style, our own styles, than what the top fashion of the day is.
We want to be authentic, and because we're going to feel comfortable if we feel authentic. If we feel fake, we're going to not, you know, have the confidence that we need to do what our purpose is in the world.
Okay.
And the last one, styles, plural, like everything else change. Style doesn't, by Linda Ellerby.
Oh, that's very interesting. So the styles yearly will change, but our style, you're saying, doesn't change, and so we keep to what we know looks good on us, our colors, our body.
Exactly.
No. Oh, I love it. Well, I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for joining us again.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
You're welcome. We hope you've enjoyed meeting our guest, Robin Finnell, as much as I have, and you've learned a little bit about her tips on fashion and style. If you know a woman who's gone above and beyond to contribute to our community, please email us. We're womensworldtv@aol.com. Remember, it's a woman's world. I'm Carolyn Bruna. See you next time.